to be subtle, and we're sitting around with the book publisher deciding what to call this thing, and we had some debate whether it would seem overstated at all. And if you look at the recent news events, I mean, it's always nice to be right, and we see with the Bell situation, you've all been following that, right, with Robert Rizzo. He got a $1.5 million compensation package. What I loved about that is he got 26 weeks of vacation, 28 weeks of vacation a year. So that's pretty good pay when you're not even there. And when you just look at this whole situation's unraveling, the whole pension situation, and it moved forward while no one was really looking. The libertarians know the whole idea of concentrated benefits and dispersed costs, and the public employee unions, they get a great deal of benefit from rigging the system to enrich themselves, and we all get to pay for it. Like the one of the quotes I have in the beginning of the book. The art of government is to make 2/3 of the nation pay all it possibly can for the benefit of the other third. The government workers are not quite a third, but they certainly have enriched themselves. So, if we look, pensions are everywhere in the news. The state just passed a budget, 100 days late. It's not even balanced as we speak, right? I mean, they balanced the budget with all sorts of bizarre gimmicks and rosy projections. That's welcome to the world of California, right, where it's a completely dysfunctional government. I'm not sure why I moved to Sacramento to cover it. I had even at age 50, have an occasional idealistic delusion, and it's really pretty pointless. But it was 100 days late past the constitutional deadline to pass a budget, but the governor did insist on pension reform, so we got pension reform. So we've got for new employees, they get a slightly lower level of payment, but it doesn't do anything for this pension tsunami coming down the pike. And there's a new report out this week that conservatively puts the pension debt, it's called the unfunded liability, at about $326 billion. I mean, that's a senior obligation of the state. That's what we have to pay to make good on all the promises. And what's been happening, and I watched it as a columnist and a writer at the Orange County Register, even in supposedly conservative county, watched the incredible pension deals move forward, mostly quietly. Politicians find it a lot easier to make promises that they're not going to have to worry about paying. They're buying off votes and buying off powerful constituencies, and unions are very powerful constituencies. So we have more than 15,000 members of the $100,000 pension club in the state of California, and that number's growing by 40% a year. And these pensions are cost of living adjusted for the rest of the life of the employee, former employee, and their spouse. And there's something now actuaries call the Viagra effect, because what's happening is these employees are retiring at such a young age. A lot of them are retiring at my age. If you're in public safety, police, fire, prison guards, milk inspectors, billboard inspectors, the whole category keeps expanding to get more and more people in on these deals. But they're retiring. They can retire at age 50 with 90% or more of their final year's pay before all the pension spiking schemes. And these are all, and then they're marrying young people, often 35-year-olds, and then we're paying until that person. Yeah, I know 35 sounds old to you guys. To me, it sounds really young. But the point is, then that person's life expectancy, and where those of us in the private sector, what we're offered is usually a 401k style program. It's called a defined contribution. The employer has a set contribution they make to our retirement, or in the case of my employer, they make no contribution to my retirement, and I have to save my own money. That's how it works in the private sector. In the public sector, it's a defined benefit, which means they're guaranteeing a set benefit, and they're not that worried about how it's going to get paid. And that's the problem that we're having. So, for instance, in Orange County, where I covered, and this is typical across the state, the average pay and benefit package for a firefighter is $175,000 a year, which is pretty good money. That's why they have to open stadiums to whenever they have job openings. They open Qualcomm Stadium in San Diego and the Anaheim Stadium, the duck pond, whatever they call it now, Honda Center, the hockey rink, to, there's so many applicants, there are like 22,000 job applicants for every opening. So to those of us who believe in free markets, we understand that that suggests a slight imbalance between, and it's such good pay, and then the benefit package is outstanding. And then there are all sorts of schemes that people use to enhance the final year's pay. So police, for instance, 82% of California Highway Patrol manager-level officers miraculously discover a disabling injury exactly a year before retirement. Isn't that amazing? And one of the most popular ones is irritable bowel syndrome. Another one is, I mean, we're not talking, they like you to believe, the unions like you to believe that they're taking bullets from the bad guys, but they're not. They get backaches. I don't know if there's this great little video online where there's, it's one of those, I don't know what you call it, it's some little homemade video on YouTube where the guy had the animation, it's like, they look like the Jack-in-the-Box kind of, like a ping pong ball head, and the guy confronts a firefighter. And have you anyone seen that? Oh, it's kind of funny. And the firefighter is playing racquetball, and he's explaining how he's on the clock. And the guy who confronts him says, "So are you disabled?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I have I have knee injuries." Well, we all have our knees hurt when we're 50 years old. I mean, it just happens. We get old. So we have this scam that goes on at many levels. So the book's about the pension issue because. Stanford University, they put the unfunded liability at $500 billion. Now, I'm a journalist, so we don't do a lot of math, but that sounds like a lot of money, even to me. And the bottom line is that's what's promised, that's beyond what we have budgeted to pay. And the way the pension funds work is they're based on guesses, right? That money gets invested by the California Public Employee Retirement System, and they guess at a rate of return. And the higher the rate of return, so when the market's booming, the less the debt, less the unfunded liability. So they've been predicting somewhere around an 8% rate of return. The real rate of return is somewhere around 5.5%. So that means that the debt keeps growing and growing. And the governor's top pension advisor, David Crane, is talking about how legally these are senior obligations. These after Prop 98, which puts like about 40% of the state budget to public education, K through 14. After that, these are things that have to be paid, that pensions are arguably next in line. So what does that mean? Everything has to be cut. So one of the arguments that I've been making, especially when I speak to groups, and Casey and I were talking about how one of the great things about Berkeley is you're not preaching to the choir here. I mean, you're really, you're in an environment that's not always sympathetic to your views, so you have to take it to the other side. And one of the points that I make when I speak regularly to liberal groups is destroying public services. If you're paying $150,000 a year to retired police officers who are age 50 and they're at the beach with multi-million-dollar pensions, that's less money that's going to be able to go to the public services that they care about. Now, in the case of most of the liberals that I know, I mean, I disagree with them on how big government should be, but we can argue about those things later. But the point is that the government is paying a disproportionate amount of its money to retirees. In the city of San Diego, 70% of the payroll budget goes to retirement and health care for retirees. And a lot of these retirees are, my age. I mean, there was just a report, and I mean, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up, let alone be retired. I mean, seriously, who's even thinking about that at my age? It's not as old as you think. In San Diego, the top 10 retirees have $61 million in pensions. I mean, that's incredible. Think about that. How many people expect? It's harder to talk to a group of younger people simply because. Hopefully you're not thinking about retirement yet. You're thinking about getting out there in the world, and you're thinking of pursuing your dreams and stirring things up. And as you get older, you start thinking, well, I maybe ought to save a little bit of money here and there. And when you're 50, you have to you got to start thinking what's going to happen in 15, 20 years. And to think that the public employees don't have to save anything at all, and the government is on the hook completely for the retirement. So. Anyway, the retirement portion of it, it's a big portion of the book and a big portion of the issue. We see it everywhere now with the Bell situation. Those guys were scamming the system. The police chief there